Welcome to the Wellness Esquire Podcast. I'm Ariella, and I'm so excited to share this conversation with Megan Senese. Megan is the co-founder of Stage, a legal marketing agency, and she is also a powerful voice on LinkedIn, precisely because she is not your typical polished executive, which I say so lovingly. Megan is all about authenticity and sharing the messiness and imperfection of life and career, and she uses her normal humanness to guide her clients to understand that there is more than one way to do business development, and the best way to do it is the way that feels authentic and right for you. One of the reasons I loved this conversation was because we recorded on a rough day, and that showed throughout the conversation, and we talked about it. We recorded on September 11th, which is already heavy enough. And on top of that, there was so much other heavy stuff going on in the world. Megan talked about feeling the weight of it all and just having a down day. And we talked about the silly little spreadsheets that we use to feel productive when the world feels heavy. We talked about Megan's own marketing strategy that led her to become the well-known and loved voice that she is, and how she built her own agency. I tried complimenting Megan on her being one of my favorite kind voices on LinkedIn, which led to Megan opening up about why it can be so hard to hear nice things about ourselves and why she believes the most impactful thing we can do in this industry is to stop pretending that we have our shit all together. This was an important conversation because of the absolute realness and messiness of it, and because we get into the massive role that non-lawyers play in the legal industry in ways that many lawyers don't understand and don't always respect. And how when we all work together as a team of humans with kindness and understanding, and we think outside of the box, we can go farther than we ever imagined, and we can feel good while we do it. I'm so grateful to Megan for the way she shows up in the world and in our industry, and for spending time with me to show how we can move through our rough days and then go and kick some ass. Thanks so much for listening, and enjoy.
Hi.
Yay!
How are you?
I'm wonderful today. How are you feeling?
I mean, there's a lot of shit going on.
There's also that. Tell me,
Yeah.
how are you doing with all of the shit going on?
Yeah. It's I feel like I'm just like living my stupid little life over here, where I'm like, I'm just gonna like do my spreadsheets.
I
And
relate to that.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
because I don't know what else to do. I don't know. Like I took some pictures of my dog, so that was fun.
You should do that. You should share them too.
I did some dog pictures. Then I
Right?
also took pictures of my children this morning, just
How old
like
are
getting ready. I have a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old, and so but it's hard to like not like I took pictures of them because I was like, oh, they're so cute, and then I was like, oh, like hope this isn't this like going dark real quick. Like hope this isn't me like documenting their last fucking outfits as I send them to school.
You know, uh,
Yeah.
the fact that that even ever has to be on someone's mind.
Yeah. 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 It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's nutty.
Yeah.
It's a nutty place where we live.
Yeah,
So
it really is. And what you said about, just feel like I'm in here working on my silly little spreadsheets. I
yeah.
have gone through those phases of, God, like, why am I, like, what about this does matters? There,
Yeah.
and it's shifted certain parts of how I think about my practice, because
Mm.
I started out life as a very serious rule follower. And
Sure.
over time I've shifted that. I like rules when they're good rules and smart, and actually like they're there for a reason and they protect people, and I'm very anti the stupid ones.
Sure.
Of which there are many. And so I've become over time less like, oh, but it's a rule, I must follow it, and more like, well, let's consider like why it's a rule, and what are the impacts of not following it and all, or following it.
Yeah.
But even with that background of like love rules when they're smart, and I am a lawyer, there are certain things about my practice where I'm like, why does this matter? Like, I understand we have all these laws that say you have to do it this way, and this way, like putting aside that a lot of those laws are antiquated and didn't know about the internet yet and things like that. But I just end up being like, who cares about any of this process? Like, especially when I think about, I've had a particularly busy week this week. It's kind of like, there's some weeks where clients are quieter, and then some weeks where like everyone wakes up at the same time with all their priorities. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, great.
Yeah.
And I've learned to be like, this is good. This means like, yay, I've got clients and they want to talk to me and they want me to do their work. Woohoo. And I'm like, right. But it has also, because of that overload, been a week of, there's just no way to move as fast as in theory I want to be able to move, and get everything done as perfectly and all of those things. And then at the beginning of, and so I was kind of, that's how the week started already. This was also last week. And then I had this moment of receiving a message. I have a whole complex health history that I share more about on other socials. And I get messages from people from all around the world just randomly telling me how much what I share helps them, and like tremendously, like they go back to their lives because of the things that I share. And that stuff to me is like what actually matters. And so I got one of these messages from someone of, how much that content has helped her symptoms go away. And she just has like this one thing left, but like my account has changed her life. And I'm like, okay, so you know what? I'm a little slower on some other things that I prefer. And like, is everything going exactly the way I want it to? Like almost, but like there's always that, perfectionist mindset of like, but there's so much more room for improvement. But then it's like, well, am I going to remember at the end of all of this which emails I responded to the fastest? And like, did I win the speed awards? No, it's, did I help people? Did I show up with kindness? Like, what real impact? And so when I think about spreadsheets, I'm like, yeah.
I know. Half of me was like, okay, well, at least I'm like doing something and I'm not spinning out. But it does feel a little stupid. So,
Yeah.
Anyway,
I think for me, I then just try to like think about the balance of it and make sure. And I feel like you, at least from the outside, it seems like you've mastered as much as one can that, which is one of the reasons that I weird face.
I have not mastered the balance, so I don't know if we need to hang up now.
Well, we can get into what is balance. What I mean is you have all these, silly little spreadsheety things, but then you bring so much good humanity and values into the world. And if at the end of the day, you're still like, I spent so much time on spreadsheets, which is the stuff we tend to checkbox and count.
Yeah.
But then if you can also be like, well, I don't even, all these posts that I publish to bring people together and bring kindness to the world and offer free support to people in the context in which you do that, that's not a checkbox, but that's a version of finding some balance. That's the side that matters. And then the spreadsheets help to facilitate that because people still need the spreadsheets.
Yeah, the spreadsheets and other things is what gets me paid. So, I need to.
There's that. Paid allows you to do the other like good humaning stuff.
Yeah, it's always hard for me to sit and listen to people say nice things about me. So that could be what you're seeing right now.
I could not relate to that more. That may be something that maybe I have a focus on that in the podcast, of just like forcing people to sit through it and then have other people learn from that, because I am with you. It is hard. But I think it's a problem that it's so hard for us. We don't benefit from it.
I hear everything you are saying. It's not
you can tell someone else the same thing.
Sure. Yes, 100%. Where I'm like, oh, I don't really know if like my posts are like making that big of an impact. Like, it's
so
yeah,
we can talk about that. And that's very interesting, actually, that you're not really sure. So yeah.
Sure. Mhm.
Do you not think so?
I think there are times, so because I think I'm in this like down day, there are definitely moments where I'm like, oh, I revert back to like they're just silly little LinkedIn posts and like so what, people like them.
Yeah.
What, so what? you know. There are other days where I'm like, oh my gosh, LinkedIn has really changed a lot of things, most things for me in my life. Let me rephrase. My writing, of which I have been able to post on LinkedIn, and the things that I decide to write about have changed things for me and provided access and connection to other people, where I feel like I have been able to build a little bit of a community. But I don't know. Today I'm like, I don't fucking know. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they're just stupid little LinkedIn posts. Um, so yeah.
I think that makes this a perfect day to have this conversation, because I think those of us in the legal industry in particular, in whatever role that is, tend to be so good at putting on a show of, yeah, I've got it all wrapped up. I know what I'm doing and everything's, perfect and shiny and it has a nice bow. And that's not the reality. And a big reason that I launched the Wellness Esquire initially and that I'm doing this podcast is to highlight the real stories,
Yeah.
is to share.
Nobody has their shit together. Like literally nobody. Like,
Exactly. And people need to
not
know
all the
that.
time. Yeah,
No,
not all the
not all
time.
the time. On, a day here, a day there, this hour over there, that hour over there,
Right.
but not all the time consistently. And I've watched people's eyes light up and people just change and turn into themselves when they discover that other people have something they're struggling with too, and
Mm-hmm.
that they're not alone in the thing they thought they were alone in.
Yep.
And I think it's probably optimal to have these kinds of conversations on days when people are like, I don't know, does anything I do matter?
Yeah. I don't know. No, yeah. That's, I'm like, ah, yeah. So I, yeah, this is a good day. It's a good day. It's a good day for that. But I don't, I think for me it's more like, I don't think I think the reason that people resonate with the content that I put out is because I'm like telling the hard stories or the things that didn't work well, or yeah, I am not a master of balance. So I'm a parent, so there's like no way I can be the master of balance. It's somebody's losing. It's usually me, but somebody is losing at some point, at some part of the day.
I think we probably want to throw away the word balance anyways, because that
Yeah.
to me indicates that there's like a perfect ratio that you're trying to achieve. And if you haven't, then you failed. And the idea
Yeah.
of, I have resonated more with the idea of integration,
Mm.
and you've got all these zillions of things going on. And for me, at least again, most recently, the goal has been just, well, two things. One, how do I fit the work stuff into my life and not the other direction?
Mm. Yeah.
And when those things do need to kind of be going on at the same time, which is absolutely the case frequently, how do I make all that work and do it sustainably and not lose my mind? And then when I do start to lose my mind, how am I able to recognize it sooner than I would have historically? And I can
Yeah.
fairly quickly start to make some adjustments. And it is, a work in progress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
Yeah,
there's different seasons of your life too, right? And what that
1,000%.
looks like, and all the things. Well, I'm like, I know we jumped right into right
This
into
is, this
everything.
is exactly why. I mean, I told you that I record from the start because I never want to
Yeah.
lose the magic. Because
Yeah.
I've had so many conversations where I'm like, man, I wish I'd recorded that. And I was listening to a conversation that you had on your really phenomenal podcast,
Oh, thank you.
with Jonah, and said, man, we should have recorded our
Like our
pre-call.
prep session. Yeah, we should have recorded the prep session for
Yeah,
sure. Yes.
yeah. And, when I started posting on LinkedIn about lawyer well-being, a few
Mm,
years ago, it opened me up to lawyers and people in the industry who were not robots and who were talking
yeah.
about the real stuff. And so I started to find all these people that I was like, oh, I can be myself with you and I can talk about the
Yes.
real things. And wow, there are more of us out there than I knew. And so when
Yeah.
I started having these conversations, it was so freeing for me. And I felt like, man, why couldn't I have found them sooner? And then when I would find someone kind of new to that space and trying to find the people talking about it, like they didn't know anyone was talking about it. And I just
Mm-hmm.
thought, well, if I had a microphone in front of me and whoever I'm talking to, and then I, turned it around and let other people listen, more people would know that people are having these conversations, and it's okay. It's more than okay. It's so needed.
Mm-hmm.
And the I don't know what initial post on LinkedIn brought us together, but you fell into the kind of vibe that I was going for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
um,
yeah, I feel like it most likely would probably be me seeking people out. Like it's usually was like
Fantastic.
me connecting with maxing out the LinkedIn connection requests per week. Almost 3 years ago at this point now.
Mhm.
I'm rounding up. It's 2.5 years we've been in business. And so a year before that, when I knew that we were going to launch, nobody else knew, but my partner and I knew, my business partner and I knew. I was terrified that I was going to become a vendor and that people wouldn't want to talk to me anymore. So for me, we have no book of business because we were in-house legal marketers and you're not allowed to talk to clients. And we had no investments and we really had no like capital. So I, the only thing that I thought I could do in stealth mode was start to build my LinkedIn presence and start sending connection requests to people while I was still employed by the firm. Cause then like I'm not selling anything and that people would be more likely to accept my request when I worked at the firm versus me becoming a consultant. And so that's probably honestly like my LinkedIn following like started because I was like obsessively sending out the LinkedIn connection requests. It's 250 a week, in case you're wondering, right? As you can send out 250 connection requests a week, and you hit the limit. LinkedIn will say you can't send any more. We want you to pay. Like you are obviously using this for sales, right? So I was just doing that for like an entire year, like sending it out. I didn't even care. I did not like
Well
it was
done.
targeted, but
Yeah.
it was like legal marketers, other lawyers who I thought were interesting, anybody in the legal space, connect. I didn't care who they were, just right, because I needed the volume. I had 500 connections when we started, and now people are following me now, right? Like, and I don't have to like people like my content and they're following me now. But I have over 20,000 followers now, like on LinkedIn, and that for a lot of people feels like I was nowhere and then all of a sudden I was everywhere, which is what someone actually said. I'm like, yeah, that's literally what happened, right? And um so my whole point is that I most likely sent you a connection request. And
Well,
so
if that's what happened, I'm glad that you did.
yeah.
And because something you did, posted, whatever, resonated. And then
Yeah.
um, more recently, your posts continued to resonate. And so I started to stalk you a little.
Yeah.
And, just so many of your posts really show who you are. And,
Mm.
a couple, your posts and your website, and we'll talk about Stage.
Yes.
A couple of the things that stood out were your business website references you and your partner, Jennifer, that people can think of you as avocado toast.
Yes.
And love that. Just
Yeah.
also because I love avocado
Sure.
toast. But because of the personality in that. And you've got
Mm.
these posts about like, I put whipped cream in my coffee or something like that. And because I
Yes.
can do whatever I want. And also
Sure.
so can you. And
Yeah.
while those things might sound silly and you might be like, yeah, why did I do that? To me, it's people ready to be human beings in our industry. And that's who
Yeah.
I'm looking to have part of my world. I
Yes.
don't fit into the whole robotic thing. And I really struggled for many years feeling like, oh, there's a way to do things and you have to wear a suit like this and you have to have this kind of nail polish situation going on. And, I remember finishing up law school and watching some of my classmates change what they did with their hair and their piercings and their clothes and their nail polish and all of that stuff because of the guidebook that we were given on like, this is
Yes.
how you have to look to be a lawyer. And, you know, there were things that I also started to change about myself to fit in. And then at some point I'm like, this doesn't feel good. And
Yeah.
so I loved finding people like you who are like, yeah, I'm going to talk about putting whipped cream in my coffee and
Yeah.
whatever else it is, because I get to just be me.
Yeah, but it takes a long time. It took a long time for me to get there. Like I definitely fell into that same thing. I wore, all black. I was talking to my kids like about how many piercings I used to have in my ears. Like not like that many, but like definitely had multiple like holes, and I had like, I forget what this is called, but I had this pierced and I had this pierced and I had all these earrings, um and I had like thought about getting my nose pierced and like all of these things. And my kids were like shocked. They were like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe this. And so they were like, well, why didn't you do them? Like, why didn't you get your nose pierced? Why'd you take everything out? And I'm like, well, I needed a job. Right. And so a lot of that, I think it's easy now for me to say, like, I can do whatever I want. Well, it is easy for me to say this now because I work for myself. I'm established, and I had basically got to a point of privilege where I could say, like, I don't want that anymore. And I'm going to follow my own rules. I'm a white lady who lives on Long Island, who's normal, heteronormal, able bodied, like all of the privilege, right? All the things. And so it's easy for me to say, I'm going to really lean into who I am, but I also recognize where I'm coming from. And so if I can do anything in this space, it's going to be using my platform. And that sounds like vomit inducing when I say that. Using the platform that I have to like amplify other voices that maybe don't have that same privilege. And so I fell into all of those things. Like, you wear a black suit. I was even told like you must wear a skirt suit to interview, like you can't wear pants. And I went for one interview where the person was like they were kept telling me this person was a really slick litigator, like very Mr. GQ slick litigator, like you must like look perfect. And I had like gotten my nails done in like red, which was like very bold, but I wore a black suit and red nails. And apparently he noticed and was like, oh, I like that she takes risks. And it was because of my fucking nail polish, right? And so, but it was all calculated to fit into this corporate mold, and I was very happy to play in that space and move up. And BigLaw allows you to do that. It's very lockstep in a lot of ways. If you do this, then you get more money, and then you get more prestige, and you get more power. And it's easy to get sucked into. It's all of the people around you are all high achieving, anxious, overworked. We're all the same trauma bonded like personality. And I am not a lawyer, and yet like you still kind of fall into that cycle until I didn't want to do it anymore. Really, is like until I had reached the point of where I was tired of feeling stupid, like just the way that people were speaking to me. I had gotten tired of that, right? Like, at what point do I get to say, like, no, actually, I do know what I'm talking about. Why are you speaking to me like that? And realize that it would never be enough, no matter what I did for the company, for certain people. And I wanted to be in charge of myself. And the only way to be in charge of myself was to leave. And to be fair, I would have never left had Jen not come up with the idea. It was Jen's idea to launch the business. I would have just kept going in this, climbing the ladder, making more money, et cetera, et cetera.
So I want to pause and back up a little bit and then kind of get back to this point. Can you walk me through the beginning of your career in a nutshell and kind of your experience in BigLaw, and in more detail, what led you to know that you knew what you were talking about and realize that you weren't being respected for that? And then what ultimately led to you and Jen launching Stage and doing what you're doing now?
Yeah. So I started in accounting. which is in marketing. So always marketing and business development, and had no idea like how great of a place I landed essentially. Like I started with a big four accounting firm, and this is like in the days where like Monster was not, I don't know if people are still using like monster.com, but that's where my job posting was for KPMG, was on Monster. And a lot of people are like, who did you know? I'm like, well, I didn't know anybody. I literally applied online, probably because nobody else was applying online at that point. Like I'm getting to that age where like I'm old enough to be able to say like I think I stood out because no one was online. And I was their first marketing associate that they hired. Everybody else was directors. At that job, I had no idea what I was doing. I was actually stupid. I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything. I
Not
didn't know how to
stupid,
do,
just inexperienced.
inexperienced. I didn't know how to do anything. They were not prepared for somebody so junior. It was like an entire department of like very senior people. From how I remember, I was 22 years old. Everybody was like over the age of 40. I was like, how do I use a spreadsheet? I didn't know how to do anything. So I stayed there for a while, and then the only reason that I fell into legal marketing, and this is a lot of common people's stories, is because somebody somewhere whispered they paid more money. And that's literally, I had very expensive college loans I had to pay. And so I went, and off to legal land I went, and basically you get sucked in, you never leave. It's like the golden handcuffs, like every other person. And I had some nice firms that I worked for. I worked for 3 different law firms. I had some nice firms and I had some not so nice firms. And the not so nice firms are really pretty terrible. And the people that were there, I naively thought the people who were there, who were talking to the support staff in this like very negative, toxic way, I thought they were only doing that to the support staff. And now, having left BigLaw, I realized it wasn't just because you were not a lawyer. They talked like that to everybody, but nobody was talking about it with each other, right? So the marketers would talk about it with each other. We knew, but the lawyers weren't like, oh yeah, that partner is awful. And that person talks like that to every single one of us, not just you. And so a lot of hostility would be brewing between departments where people are assuming things about other people. Like it was very much like marketing versus lawyers, right? Them versus us. And the lawyers would feel like we didn't know what they were having to go through, and we felt the same way. And just a lot of pressure on everybody to produce, do it quickly, do it correctly, immediately, and just be better, right? With like no guidance, just do exactly what I said without me telling you. Like it's not that hard, right? And so um that gets tiring, right? In terms of people not being appreciated, people don't ask you how you are. At in like the one particular firm, I was often the only woman in the room, and now I'm in the support staff role, and I was the youngest by a lot. And there is this like, sweetheart, get us the papers that are printed out, like take the notes. And that's tricky when your like job like kind of is to take the notes, right? And so it was just this perpetual like, well, you obviously don't know what we're talking about because like you didn't go to law school, so therefore you're stupid. And also like anybody can do marketing. It's like not that hard. And like I'm gonna mock up everything that you wrote anyway, because it's really easy to write invitation copies. So like, and this is stupid, and like you don't know, a client doesn't like this, blah blah blah. So it was like that over and 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 over again. It gets tiring and exhausting, and people burn out. And once I left that firm and went to another firm, it was like much nicer and all of the things. And so how did I know that I knew what I was talking about? I mean, there's definitely still moments right now where I'm like, do I know what I'm talking about? Right? Like, I think everyone struggles with that a little bit at some point on some days. It didn't really click, really, really, really click that I truly know what I hope we're allowed to curse on this. I've dropped a lot of
Oh,
F-bombs.
absolutely. Go
Great.
for it.
Like, that I
This
know
is
what the
all about
fuck I'm
authenticity.
talking about.
Not...
Yeah. Until I left, right? Like I was confident in my abilities. I knew I was a really good business developer. I was always promoted. I would always move around and get more senior positions and all the things. But I think for me, the really turning moment was all of the tactics that we would say to try when I worked in BigLaw as a business developer. I then had to do them for myself when we left, right? And so much of the structure is that the business developer is there to support the lawyer, of course, but you were never allowed to talk to their clients. So you didn't really know what was going on with their client. And so you would come up with ideas as an example and say, like, hey, I think you should just like reach out and check in and say, like, hey, how's it going? Or whatever. And they'd be like, no, that won't work for the client. You don't know because you don't get to talk to them. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't know if it always has to be that hard. You have no idea. General counsels are very busy. All of those things are true, but also you can also just like check in and say what's going on. And so I started to try the tactics that I had been suggesting because I had nothing to lose. Literally, I had no clients, no money to like get in the door. And so I tried it and it worked, right? Like immediately. I'm like, oh, actually, it's not as big and bad and scary out here in business as people say it is, particularly if you are leading with kindness and you're being curious and not pitching on people and I'm not calling you up and say, what can you give me? It's been, you know what? It's been 2 months since you've sent me any work. You're due. You're due for work now. Give it to me, which is kind of the conversations that I used to have when we were in house. And so that shift was like very eye opening. And so now in my marketing strategy for my business, I know what worked when I was in BigLaw for business development and marketing for lawyers. And I also know what works for how I build my book. And I have to do the same thing. I have to do the service delivery and the business development, just like a lawyer does, and figuring out the time management and coming up with pricing and all the things that are frustrating and take a lot of time. But I have to do it for myself. So this is what works for me. And this is what worked in house. So you can decide now, what would you like to do? And people are like, okay, I'll try that.
When Jen came to you with what seemed like a crazy idea for the two of you going out and launching your own business together.
Yeah.
And you got to a point of yes. Did you know at that point that the values and qualities you just talked about with kindness and empathy and all the rest, did you know that was going to be part of it? So when did you realize how key that was?
Yeah. So we were 3 and now we're 2. So I always feel like I need to like say that there used to be 3 of us. And we worked together for about a year in stealth mode on what we thought the business was going to be. We did say human. We did want it to be about connection. Kindness didn't really connect and click for me until we launched. And like we wanted it to be people first. We wanted it to be about listening. We wanted it to be different. I was very burnt out from BigLaw. And so I don't know if we were saying kindness in that way, but that's really what we were getting to. Being curious, being open-minded, like all the things that you hear in BigLaw about best practices for building client relationships, but what does that actually look like, you know? And so as soon as I was set free, essentially, and decided that I could write whatever I wanted, that's kind of when everything changed for me personally.
Were you able, so when you noticed that things changed and you started posting on LinkedIn and showing your personality and bringing your values into your business, were you able to see, or how were you able to see the impact for lawyers on working with them in this way?
So it's easy. So one of our services is one-to-one coaching for lawyers, right? And I say coaching, but really we become their like fractional marketing and business development professional for that individual lawyer, whatever that lawyer needs. And so lawyers would say, okay, I've been following you for like 6 months or 7 months or 8 months. Like I've been following you for a long time. And like this post really did it. And now I'm like ready. And so I think the thing that's always really kind of funny or ironic for me is that we have a lot of BigLaw lawyers, our clients. And they'll say things like, well, my clients aren't on LinkedIn. I'm like, okay, sure. Tell me why. And they're like, well, I just don't think that they're there. Cool. And how did you find me again? And they're like, LinkedIn. I'm like, uh-huh, uh-huh. And they're like, but like I can't write like personal stuff like you can because like I work for a big firm. And I think there's like parts of that, but I'm also like, well, how did I stand out to you compared to everyone else? And they're like, oh, like your personal stories. I'm like, cool. So that's like the big shift. And you have to toe the line. Like I get that. And I work with our clients to do that, right? Where you can tell stories of what it's like for you, or you can tell stories about successes for your client in ways that's not like giving away information, that's not breaching confidentiality, that's not going to make your law firm mad. There are ways to do that. And the more people lean into that and get comfortable, then they start to see results. And those results are not, I saw you on LinkedIn and I'm hiring you and here's a $5 million like I don't know, M&A, IPO, whatever, right? Like it's like somebody reaches out to you, you get on a podcast, you are able to, you just have exposure to more things. For example, I've been posting, and somebody from Bloomberg has reached out to me to write for things. American Lawyer has reached out to have me quoted on stuff. I've written for PLI because they said, "Oh, Megan writes on LinkedIn and we like her writing and we know she's a good writer," which again is a conversation that I'm like, I'm not a good writer for like LinkedIn, but not for like PLI.
Why are you underselling yourself?
This is like, again, we'll have to come back to this. I'm like, but those things would not have happened had I not written on LinkedIn. Right. And so now I have that access. And when our clients come to us, I'm like, well, I happen to know the editor of Bloomberg. Shall we pitch this? Right. And so that's all because of the platform where I've shared stories about putting whipped cream in my coffee, or how horrible it was when, I had to hide my pregnancies at BigLaw, or giving my platform over to other underserved communities. Those are all have sort of nothing to do with legal, but also everything to do with legal.
They have everything to do because getting clients is about relationships and maintaining clients is about
Yeah.
relationships. And, no one teaches us that in law school.
Yep.
But, I feel like this is a thing that people say all the time, but maybe don't truly take in. People want to work with people they like.
Yeah.
People want to work with people with whom they share values
Right.
and who they trust. Well, how do you know any of that if you don't let people know you? How
Right.
can people develop a relationship with you if you close yourself off?
Right. Yeah. It's tricky, particularly when you feel like you have to fall in line. And a lot of people will come to me because they feel like traditional business development doesn't work for them. And so I'm like, okay, can you please define traditional business development? And they're like, well, like I don't like to golf. I have young kids. I can't go late night to cocktails. I don't really want to travel around the country and go to conferences. And I'm like, so don't. Like I'm like the worst business. Sometimes I'm the worst business. I'm like, then don't do those things. Right. But it's about finding something you like to do.
Well, so much of what I hear of the way you show up with clients is you give people permission to
Yeah.
be themselves and to do things the way they actually want to, and to stop feeling trapped by what they've been told or led to believe is the only way. And even
Right.
though I think more and more, lawyers understand that there are, different different ways of structuring a firm and
Yeah.
doing business development, it's one thing to kind of know that in theory. It's another thing to be in an environment where maybe you don't love it, but that is where you are right now, and to
Yeah.
figure out, well, this isn't good for me, but I'm here right now, and for whatever reasons, maybe I really can't, I haven't left, and maybe I can't
Right.
right now. So how
Yep.
do I start to crawl out of this and find myself and do this in a way that actually works for me? And if they haven't been exposed to someone who's authentic and saying, you can actually do this and be you, and it can work, and it can work better than whatever you're doing right now.
Yeah. Right. and maximize your time, right? So I do get a decent amount of parents, and you don't have that much time. If you're going to go to a conference, we need to make sure it works for you, right? And so then how are you making the most out of that conference attendance, and what does the plan look like, and like all of those things are like the traditional business development. But I think sales gets a really bad rap for law for lawyers, and they're like, I don't want to be salesy, I don't want to be pushy, I don't want to be like pitch slapping in people's like LinkedIn. I'm like, well, don't have an agenda, just try to get to know people and see where it leads. And it might not lead anywhere, or it could 2 years later. I mean, I have a lot of stories like that where people have reached out and it didn't really go anywhere 2 years ago, and people are like, I remember that you like referred me, or you did this like thing for me for free, and now I can hire you, and they have. And so it like always comes back. So if you give more than you're taking, it always comes back.
Some of your posts that I've resonated with the most have been when you're kind of sharing with the group the things that most people, certainly lawyers and others, in the profession and outside of the profession, will say, and things like, I am not enough, and I need to earn my rest, and oh, not everyone's mad at me right now.
People liked that one. Yeah, nobody's mad at you. Yeah, people like that one.
Well, these are all the sorts of things that, so many of us, either we have these thoughts either sporadically or consistently, but we don't tend to talk about. And once you find out, wait, other people are always worrying, you're worrying that your clients, like you're in trouble somehow, or wait, I can't rest because I haven't done everything perfectly that I could possibly do. And I will never be enough because what is enough? So those are conversations that you're having with your clients. How do you
Yes, they start by myself, actually.
Perfect. So talk about it when it starts with yourself. How do
Yeah.
you navigate that with yourself?
Yeah.
And
It
then
all
with your
Yeah, go
client?
ahead. Yeah.
No, you go.
No, yeah. Okay. So yeah, most of those things do start with things that I'm telling myself, where I'm like, I think there's the reason that it resonates is because there is some reality in like nobody is mad at you. Well, the reason we're all terrified that people are mad at us is because there's been a lot of times where people are mad at us, at law firms in particular, right? You didn't do this right, you didn't do it fast enough. The tone of which we're receiving emails like please fix, this is my favorite, PLSFX, right? Like, everyone, period.
Yep.
And you're like, obviously I'm getting fired, right? And so like that fear is not from nowhere. It's not like we're all just like crazy psychotic people who are like making this up. There is a conditioning that has happened, which is why
Absolutely.
it resonates so well, right? Like the fact that like it takes a lot of untraining, and I'm still undoing it now, even though it's been 2.5 years, that like my clients aren't mad at me, right? Like what happens in that silence, the gap, that's where you have to retrain your brain. And so that's like a lot of those conversations like will start with something that I'm having with myself, and then I feel compelled to write it, maybe in a obsessive way, and then I'll write it, and then people will resonate, and then my clients will start to talk to me about it, or kind of vice versa. There will be instances where I keep hearing the same kind of thread throughout in the one-on-one conversations, and then I'll talk about it in that way. And so sometimes our like one-on-one sessions are like just mindset reshifts, and like let's talk about sales in a different way. Can you talk to me about a time where you've just like built a relationship, not with a client, just in general? Have you ever built a relationship? And they're like, yeah, of course, right? I'm like, well, then you know how to do it. And so it's just like a redirection. I think people need a lot more individual support than their firms are giving to them, which is why our business exists. I was in house. I know how hard it is. There's 40 marketing people. I worked in big firms. So it was lucky that we were a department of 40, maybe 50. Maybe you worked in a department where there's 80 marketing and business development people. But that also means there's probably 2,000 lawyers, right? And so you're not getting to everybody. And you're also being told not to help everybody, help the highest billing partners. And it's the people who are like not billing as much, or like are trying to make partner, they're the ones who need the help. And that's the place I really like to spend, honestly, is those who want their own autonomy or like look open and looking to learn. It's the part that like becomes fun, and we can collaborate together and come up with all different things. So
you have a focus on lawyer well-being and professional
yeah.
well-being in general. How do you bring that awareness into the way you coach your clients so that they understand that you can design your career in a way that works for you, and you can build this incredible book of business, and you can also do it while taking care of yourself, and the importance of that?
Yeah. I think what's been really interesting is that, so I have a couple of established partners who are saying like, I don't want to be reliant on other people anymore, and that's why I need to get my own book. And I think financial freedom is a big piece of surrounding yourself with client, at least if you're going to be working this hard. I guess my point is, if you're going to work this hard, like, let's surround yourself with clients that you actually like and you enjoy being around. Like, if you have to take time away from your family, and we all do, right? You have to do stuff you don't want to do, and that's fine. Like at the beginning, I don't really want to be spending time doing spreadsheets, but there are things you have to do. And so if you're going to do those things and you're taking time away from the things that are important, your family or your dog or your yoga or your travel or your health, whatever, then I believe that you should be able to surround yourself with at least people that appreciate you, you like them, you want to help them succeed, instead of like banging your head on the table every time you see an email from that person come into your inbox, right? And so that's a focus, right? And so how do you surround yourself with people that you like and that like you? Well, you have to find commonality. And how do you do that? LinkedIn is a big piece of it for us, but also finding things that you have in common with other people, right? So maybe you go and sit quietly and do a knitting class together, which is something that I've had lawyers do. That was their networking thing. They went and invited people to do activities with them that are not cocktails. If that's not your thing, right? Go and do something crazy and wild, like knitting quietly. So, just do something different that will resonate with you and fuel kind of both parts, right? You can be two things at once. You can do things for fun, which is something that comes up a lot. They're like, well, like I have this, I'm on this board, but it hasn't resulted in any work yet. And like, there's really not a lot of good people like on it for referral opportunities and like on and on and on and on. But all the reasons why they're on this board that they love, but it hasn't resulted in anything. And maybe I should quit. I'm like, okay, you could just be on the board because you like it. For fun, for funsies. And it's usually this conversation where they're like, what? So, I mean, that becomes a conversation as well, right? Like, not every single thing that you do has to result in something immediately, or has to be tied to work every single day. You could just be on a board because you fucking like it. There's that.
That's crazy.
It honestly, people are like, what?
I mean, I say that jokingly, but my husband has had to teach me about fun.
Yeah. I'm still working on fun. Yeah.
I'm still learning it too. I've gotten much better.
Yeah.
But I am still learning.
Yeah. You could just do it for fun. So that's been also been fun, right? Where I'm like, you could just do it because you like it. It's a wild concept. I know.
Well, it's wild that I think a lot of us still even have to go a level below and figure out, well, what does liking it feel like?
Yeah.
Like, how do you even identify what a hobby is and what just feels good, and how to separate out from the things that, can be so easy to, grow accustomed to, that are super negative and we just don't know how to extricate ourselves from.
Yeah.
And learn that there's something on the other side called, fun and joy. And that's available to us. And that's really, those are important things to experience to actually be good at our jobs.
I know it's really hard, particularly when like I had a conversation with somebody yesterday who is a new mom, and she's like, I don't know if I really want to do like lunch meetings, and everyone's telling me I should do lunch meetings to network, and you know how many 6-minute blocks I can fit in one lunch meeting? I'm like, yeah, I do, right? Like I understand it, and it's hard, and that's how you start thinking because you've been trained that way, right? And you're sitting on the soccer field, and you're like, this is how many times could this fit into? How many hours I could have been billing instead of sitting here watching my kids soccer. Right, like that starts to filter into people's brains, and it's hard. That's hard to get away from when every single minute is literally like ticking away and counting and costing money or should be costing money. No time for joy, right? When you're charging in 6-minute blocks.
So if you're comfortable,
Yeah.
yesterday you posted
Mm.
about suicide prevention and awareness,
Yeah.
and you shared your own story, and you shared it in the context of lawyer well-being and
Yeah.
well-being in the profession. Do you
Yes.
mind sharing your story and the way that experience and that connection has led to your view on
Mm.
well-being and mental health and taking care of ourselves and each other in general, and then especially in the context of our industry, where we know, I mean, we've got stats that tell us, what you don't need stats to tell you because we
Yeah.
see it in front of our own eyes, but people are really not often doing okay. And yet,
Right.
the change is really, really slow.
Yeah. So yesterday's post, and I don't know when this will come out, but yesterday's post was in connection with World Suicide Prevention Day or Awareness Day. I think there's also like September's Awareness Month as well. Uh, so my writing is in a lot of ways when people when people are like, "Oh, I read your post," I'm like, "Oh, which one?" Because it feels like my diary, right? Like it is very
Mhm. Oh,
personal
it's like
and
journaling, often for me too.
100% is journaling. And I had been thinking about that topic where my girlfriend in high school died. And I had been thinking about it for probably 2.5 years where I was like, I feel like this is a story that like I want to share, but like also like why? Like why would I write that? And it's not really connected to business and so like do I really need to share every single piece of me, right? And so there was a lot of back and forth and I don't know if like even yesterday's post really did justice for what it's limited characters, right? And like the extent of which like I probably could go deeper. Um but that took a long time to like come out, right? And I think there are so many just even having that experience and I had actually had multiple experiences in high school, but that was like the closest one. Having that experience and carrying that around for a while, I think you just don't know what people are going through, either having experienced it or the person who is suffering, right? And I just turned 40, and I think a lot of that is reflective as well, where I'm like, gosh, like it was such a long time ago and we were just babies and we didn't know anything and nobody was talking about that then, right? And the mental health crisis for the legal community is so high and so bad. And I don't really think I really understood the extent of it until, again, I left. And because I didn't work for a firm, now I think people are more comfortable telling me things that they just didn't when we worked together, right? And I also think, again, there's a privilege that I have this like large number of people following me. So people will, I think, read my stuff. Again, I don't know who's actually reading it, right? Like,
I read it.
thank you. And so I felt like, okay, well, this is a good way to share my story in a way that is real. It happened to me and bring people together. And I think I mean, it's heartbreakingly sad is that so many people were like, I was also 17 when my friend died and like I was 18 when my friend died, right? And so there's a lot of people like commenting and that's shitty that we all have this in common and we're all suffering. And so you might think twice. I think the part for me in terms of like what kept coming up at a very high level, like surface level, would be people being like, oh my God, I'm working so much. Like, I'm just like killing myself over this document, right? Like people say things like that, right? And I remember hearing that like in the office and being like, you don't even know who you're saying this to, right? Like I have actually a personal experience with this, and you're not killing yourself over this document. Please stop, right? And so it's just like that, like small things that can add up for people. And yes, there could be word police who come out and be like, you can't say anything now, blah, all those things. But I think there is some like sensitivity for people who are truly suffering. And I think that's really what's happening, is that people are really, really suffering. I am not equipped to deal with those people's emotional, well-being. But if I can raise awareness in whatever social media platform that I have built for myself, then I feel like that's the impact that I can have. And it is the piece that brings me the most joy, honestly, as my silly little posts on LinkedIn and bringing people together and using my voice to talk about things that maybe others won't.
Thank you for doing that, because you said you went back and forth thinking about whether it was a post that you wanted to
Yeah.
share, and wondering, well, is this really actually related to business at all? And I think it's very much related to business, because
Yeah.
humans conduct business. And if those humans aren't okay, that's a problem that we need to pay attention to. And we know in this industry and beyond that people are not okay.
Yeah.
But when we don't talk about it and we make it seem like these things aren't happening, we don't help anyone.
Yeah.
But you may never know who saw your post or who sees your posts, and whose life you've changed or just impacted tremendously. You don't need to have those numbers,
Right.
but there's no way you're not having that impact, because even everyone who commented on and liked that post, and everyone who saw it and didn't have any sort of obvious reaction, sees that there's someone out here saying, I've had this experience, and wow, so many other people have too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think
it's hard to carry that around. And even this morning, so somebody was like, oh, I saw you posted it, because I had been talking about like, maybe I feel like this is something I need to get out and I have to post it. I'm like, how do you feel? I'm like, when I posted it yesterday, I was like, I didn't feel anything. I was like, oh, it's done. It's like, let me see the likes and the, it's easy to get into the like engagement vanity metrics, and even over something that's like as heavy as that. But then today I was like, I'm very cranky. I'm really irritable. Like, I think there was like residual, going back to that place and thinking about it. And there's definitely even a concern of me writing about it. I'm like, actually, am I making this worse by not like, is it the right words? Did I not write it properly? Is there like, should I put like trigger warning in the top of it? Like, there's a lot of mindfulness that I try to bring towards stuff that's serious, that I'm not just like posting and being like reckless poster, right? So it's not easy. It's not easy, and there's definitely topics that I probably should write about and I don't, and topics that I miss, and it's hard to balance all of that, and where my emotional bandwidth can be to look at everybody's response to that. And even when I'm trying to do something nice, this is a completely sidestep, but like I posted probably a couple of weeks ago, I gave away coffee. Did you see this? Okay, so I gave away a cup of
this.
So I did coffee. I did a coffee gift card. I've done this before. This is probably the third time that I've done it. It's like virtual, like pass on random act of kindness, right? And so there was like, this one went crazy. I think because I had a better hook for the opener than some of the other ones, to be honest. And there was like hundreds of people who commented and liked it, and people sent me notes that said, like, I used the cup, like I used your gift card. Some people were saying that they were without a job, and it was like a nice treat that they were able to get it. And so like that part like felt really good. So there's hundreds of people, it went viral, and there was one comment that made me so mad out of all of these. And that was like, she's just doing this for like the traffic, right? Like she's just doing this for the traffic. And I was like, thought about deleting it, and then I decided that it was best to like let the clown like be visible, right? And so, but I couldn't stop thinking about that one comment, the one negative comment over and over and over again. And so then the following week I decided that I would use the negative comment to drive traffic to my page by having other people promote their business. And so I got another viral post out of it.
I remember seeing that and loving how you handled that, because it wasn't just that you gave people an opportunity to promote themselves. My recollection of it was you were saying tag people who are doing something awesome. And it was an opportunity for people to shout out other people and help other people get business and get awareness and acknowledgement. And that's such a phenomenal thing that we should all be doing more of, and to recognize what happens when we boost each other up. And this grumpy, negative clown, really, I mean, you should thank him.
Yeah, maybe I will. Maybe I'll drop them a note. Thanks for the viral 2 pieces.
Because it actually led to like a really nice love fest on that other post. That I think people really benefited from, because, you know, yes, we are often connecting through the magic of LinkedIn, and that's amazing. And, you know, there's so much value that comes from the way we connect.
Yeah.
But it can also end up feeling really static. And that I felt like turned into this kind of fun hangout moment, even though everyone's, you know, behind their screens in different parts of the world. And how great.
Yeah. And it was nice to see a lot of the same, like, maybe I thought it was nice to see a lot of the same names. So like people, like, because I'm like, oh, shout out somebody. You're right. It was shout out people that like are doing something awesome, a colleague and like a helper or whatever. Right. And a lot of the people were tagging a lot of the same names. And so that was kind of fun to see, like, that people were like, oh my gosh, this person is great, like over and over and over again. And so it was good. So hopefully it drove some business, and it can be really easy. Like that didn't tell that much of a story. I didn't really share that much personal, right? And it like boosted other people. It's literally connecting people. It's like simple.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you even recognize how much of a community you're building around the way that you do marketing and business development, and the way that you lead all of that with kindness and compassion and empathy and values and humanity and authenticity. And you're bringing together all these phenomenal people who share those values and also who want to lift everybody up. So thank you for doing that, because I think we really need that in our world. And I hope you recognize also that that is what you're doing. And I'm sure I'm not the only person who would agree with that. Is there anything else
That's where I'm like, meh.
I know. Maybe part 2 will be you learning how to take a compliment.
Yeah, this is where I can literally see like my face color increasing in redness.
Were you always like that, or did your experience in BigLaw make it harder for you to acknowledge your power?
I don't know. I would probably have to unpack that some more with probably a therapist or something. Have I always been like that? You know, I think what it is more that when I hear people saying stuff that's like, oh my gosh.
That's the only time you're silent, by the way.
Let me think about this. Is that I don't think it's that hard. And I don't mean it to be just like, I don't mean it to be like, I appreciate people saying nice things about me. But the things that they're picking out, I'm like, well, you could write like nice things on LinkedIn too. And so I'm like, what I'm doing is like, not that special. And I'm not the first person to like come up with kindness, right? There's so many beautiful books out here and podcasts and like nicer people than me. Like I don't volunteer really. Like I'm just like writing nice shit on LinkedIn, right? And so I'm like, am I really that nice? I don't fucking know, right? And so I'm like, I think that's why it's a little like I think that's why I dismiss it as special, because it feels like if I'm just like a regular person. If I can do it, then like anybody can do it. So
It would be hard for me to relate
thank
to that
you.
more.
Yeah. Thank you.
I
Yeah.
really relate to that so much. I have learned to have the following perspective.
Mm,
We live in a really complex world that is often filled with so much pain
mm,
and people moving so fast and just forgetting to show up with like the bare minimum kindness. And just because everyone really could do a
yeah.
little better or much better doesn't mean that a lot of people are. And
Sure.
so when someone does, it's nice. And
Mm,
I think, sure, some of these things, I think it's easy to feel like, well, but if everyone did that, we wouldn't acknowledge it. But unfortunately, not everyone is doing some of these things.
yeah.
And I think we want to acknowledge it and benefit from acknowledging it because it says, hey, this makes us feel better and perform better. So look what that person's doing. How can I emulate that?
Mm,
And I
yeah.
think when we're able to acknowledge what you're able to put into the world and the kind of beautiful domino effect that comes from that, then someone else can say, oh, maybe I can just write nice things about other people too.
Yeah.
Or maybe when someone comments something ridiculously stupid and negative on my post, maybe I'll take a cue from Megan and instead of just bashing the person back, turn it into something kind.
Yeah.
It doesn't occur to everyone to do that. So when
Yeah.
you're an example.
Oh, well, okay. Thank you for that. I mean, it took a long time too, right? Like, I'm not saying like my entire corporate life was full of kindness. Like, I definitely did shitty things and responded nastily, and you fall into the trap of like, well, this person was an asshole to me, so I'm gonna be a fucking asshole back, and they didn't answer me for 5 hours, so I'm gonna do the same thing, blah, 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 right? And that's like where I had it. I just was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm tired. I'm exhausted, and if I'm going to like literally blow up my life and give up comfortable salary and have to like come out here and like hustle in the streets, then it's going to be something that makes me feel good, and I'm going to surround it myself with people that I like, and it's got to be human first. That's it, has to be that way.
Well, from that last bit that you shared, it also sounds like now that you're in charge of yourself and get to work with the kind of clients that you like working with, and you
Yeah.
do work that feels more innately good to you, it seems like it's easier for you to show up that way. And when you
100%.
were, go figure, in an environment where you were completely burnt out or being treated like shit and just, were miserable a lot of the
Sure.
time, shockingly, you weren't always showing up as your best self. I know,
Yeah.
weird.
Strange. It's really weird how that happens.
Bizarre.
Yeah. Bizarre. Yes. Yeah. It's a lot. It definitely feels more mission based, purpose driven to be able to help. And I'm doing the same type of work now as I was before, but it feels completely different.
Yeah. And it seems like you also feel in certain ways like a different human because you just
Oh my
get to.
God. I'm 100%. Yeah. It's a completely different person. Completely different person. It'd be like I was like a freshman and now I'm a graduated senior who's like just completely different.
How fast was that transition for you? Just
I
like
mean,
turning
the
into
minute we
yourself.
left, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
so it's been 2.5 years. Two and a
I
half
had a
years.
similar experience when I launched my own firm. I just felt like I went from needing permission for things, whether I really did or not, but just feeling like, well, I'm in someone else's framework and I don't want to do it that way, but I have to do it that way. And if I don't do it that way, I really don't want to get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is wrong or all of those things. And then once I left and was just completely in charge, I was like, wow, I'm so free. And I grew so much faster
Yes.
than I ever did when I was kind of under someone else's reins
Mm-hmm.
and found myself in ways I didn't even know was possible.
Yeah. It sounds really like it's full of cliches, but the first year of business, I did meet and greets with anybody who would meet with me. So that resulted in 1,000 meet and greets. Literally, I had 1,000 meet and greets for the first year. I had like 4 or 5 a day, and then I did the math or whatever, something like that. And so somebody in that 1,000 said, like, nothing shows you more of who you are as a person than launching your own business. And I remember being like, okay. And it's 100% true, because you have to trust yourself. You have to rely on yourself. You have to figure out how you're going to deal with conflict if you have a partner, right? And this becomes your baby, becomes everything to you, at least for me. And then, like, what does that look like? And so everything changed. Everything changes about really stepping into being that owner's mindset, and like, what does that mean? And what kind of owner do I want to be? And who am I as a person if I'm not part of this machine? I'm part of this new thing that I'm building and launching and creating. And so, yeah, 100%. I think my business development skills are better. I don't think I would have been able to learn what I've learned in the last 2.5 years if I stayed in any firm. And that's not the firm's fault. This is trial and error, right? Like, of really being thrown in the deep end and figuring it out.
I love it.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you would like to share? We didn't even get into like the actual details about what you do with clients.
Fine. All good. I just yell at them. I basically just yell at people. No, I'm like, yes, you don't do that. Don't do that. If you don't like it, don't do that.
That's not yelling. That's, again, the permission for people to be themselves and understand that there's no box.
There is no box. There is no box. You get permission to do whatever you want, because we're actual grown-ups. And I forget that sometimes. That's like, we're grown-ups and you can do whatever you want. That is like the one benefit. That's what I tell my kids. The one benefit is that I'm a grown-up and I get to decide who I want to talk to and when I want to talk to them. So we get to be in charge of that. Like, when you're a kid, you don't really always have that luxury. Is there anything else that I want people to know? I don't know. So many things. I have no idea. I could keep you on probably for another hour.
We might need a part 2, 3, and 4, maybe
Sure.
5.
Sure. I can come back. I could come back on a day where I'm not like, I suck. Everything I do sucks.
No, but truly, I love that that's how this conversation started.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, for the reasons I said at the outset,
Yeah.
We're so good at pretending everything's okay. And it's just not always okay.
Yeah.
And I think there's so much value in also in the way that we conduct business, to be able to, start out a meeting or podcast and saying, I'm actually having a hard time. Here's what's going on with me at home or personally.
Yeah.
And, here's what that might mean for timelines, deliverables, focus, attention, schedule, whatever that may be, or, whatever it is. And just to put that out there, because it happens to all of us, and pretending it does not benefit anybody.
Yeah. Everyone struggles with their little imposter syndrome. I don't even know if it's imposter syndrome. It's just a down day. It's just like a down day.
Well, do you remember that it's also September 11th?
Yes, there's that.
Okay.
There's also that. Yeah, I'm like, I need to stay off social media. It's just like, there's just like, I'm anticipating having to respond to. I'm sure my kids learned about it at school, so they're going to come home and they probably want to ask me things, and you want to be available for them, and making this space for that. And like, so all the things.
The world has a lot going on. Things are hard.
Yeah, things are hard. It's a lot of shit. And that's where we come back to being like, so I'm just going to like input my little stupid spreadsheets and do my little stupid shit while the world is on fire. And sometimes that's good. Sometimes you need that. And other times you go take a break outside.
Yeah. And sometimes you do the spreadsheet outside.
Yes, I know. Okay. So that is equivalent to, I put whipped cream in my coffee, because I forget to do that sometimes.
To work outside, or to put whipped cream in your coffee?
To go outside. to like not be in my, I am you too.
No, not at all. I will tell you about my life. So my husband and I, a few months ago, stopped living anywhere, and we beach hop around the world and work from wherever we want.
amazing.
currently in St.
Yeah.
Martin, headed to Tulum tomorrow. And
Beautiful.
even before we started to just beach hop, we lived in Santa Barbara, and I arranged my schedule so that most of the time I had a couple of days that were dedicated to like nonstop calls, and those I would be in my house. And the other days were my I work at the beach days, because that is where I am most productive. And I have clients who would message me and just be like, "Are you at the beach right now? Because you're so fast."
Like,
Because that is just where I need sunshine to operate. That's my battery.
Yeah.
So I know what I need to thrive the most, and I go after it now.
Yeah. Now. No, I hear you. I think I'm gonna go to like a Pilates bar class tomorrow at like 10 o'clock in the morning. And that is like feels very like in the middle of the day. I'm gonna go to a bar class. Yeah. So
when you're in charge, you get to do that.
Yeah, but I don't do that. Like I'm still working on that, right? Where I'm like, my bar class was sold out at 7 o'clock in the morning, which is when I usually go because it's before work hours.
Yeah.
I could go at 10. Like,
you could.
I know. And so I hadn't, and now I'm going to tomorrow. So it's like,
good for you. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. That's me being like wild, right? Like wild and crazy. I'm going to go at 10 o'clock in the morning. So,
well, it takes time. I think even once you're on your own, it takes time to realize what boxes you've put yourself into that don't actually need to be there. And I think, some kind of fuzzy lines are good for just focus, but they can shift. And some of the ones that you used to benefit from or were forced into, like just they can go away.
Yeah. Right. So you can do whatever you want.
Go to Pilates and bar at 10 a.m. and you can do it.
I'm gonna go crazy tomorrow. I'm gonna go crazy at my bar class.
Yeah. And I think I'm post about it. There's a freedom. I mean, there's a freedom that I think a lot of people don't even realize is available to them.
Yeah.
Launching your business, I know to a lot of people feels so daunting and feels like a thing other people do.
Yeah. It still feels like that to me.
You've done it though.
I know, but I'm like, who is that person? Who is that person who launched a business? I don't know. Like, it's crazy. Do you feel like that?
No, I totally own it. I cannot imagine a world in which I work for someone else ever again.
Oh no, I can never go back. But I still am also like, that person before who decided to do it. It's like, I don't know her.
I identify with myself in that way very strongly. And it's interesting. I didn't think long before I decided to do it. I just kind of decided and then really?
She was like, do you want to do this with me? And I was like, yes. And she was like, do you want to think about it? And I was like, no.
Yes. Yeah. And I remember I decided, really what happened was a client of mine texted me and said, people are always asking us who's our lawyer. And I just say Ariella, but actually, what is the name of your firm? And I was like, oh, I'll just launch my own firm and call it me. And I'd had loads of people, I know plenty of people with their own firms, and not like I hadn't been exposed to it. And people had suggested that I do it. And I just hadn't felt right. I still felt kind of stuck in a box. I was thinking about going in-house. I had all these ideas. And then once it clicked and I just realized, wait, I could do it. I just did it. And then I told a friend of mine from law school. And then very shortly after, I said something to him about, I launched my own firm. And he was like, what? And I was like, I thought I told you about that. And he said, yeah, but you did it so fast.
You're like, how did this happen? You're like,
I decided to do it. So,
ta-da. Yeah. Pretty much.
And I'm so glad. I'm so glad that I did it as fast as I did, because I've had to do a lot of work to shift from being a maladaptive perfectionist to an adaptive perfectionist. Have you heard those terms? That concept's been like game changing for me. Maladaptive is I'm a total idiot because I didn't do that perfectly. And I just suck. And like, I'm so embarrassed for myself that I can't even look at how I made the mistake. So I can't even figure out how to learn from it because like I can't even face it myself, let alone for other people to know. That's one end of the spectrum. The other end is more aligned with the growth mindset.
Well, like I'm going to learn from this, and
yeah. And it's been so much healthier for me. But the pace with which I launched allowed me to just start
yeah,
and learn as I go. And some of the things that I'm doing now, it's actually all very similar to how I started in terms of structure. I dropped the billable hour. I do mostly subscription and project based. It's fantastic, but just like the details
yeah,
have shifted because I didn't know what I was doing then, and I
right.
couldn't have thought my way to where I am now. I had to try it. And so that where I was with my kind of perfectionism, my relationship with perfectionism allowed me to just jump in, start, and figure it out as I go and be like, oh, wow, I can actually do that comfortably. And I don't have to know everything perfectly before I begin.
Yeah,
Fascinating.
yeah, and it's always going to shift and change. I think that's the hardest part about running your own business is that everyone kept telling us the first year is the hardest, and so we went through that, and then then it was like, well, actually, like the third year is really the hardest, and we're coming up on the third year, and then I'm talking to people like, actually, the fifth year is the hardest. I'm like, is it though, or is it just like every year is in hindsight you're like you hit the next milestone and there's another thing to learn. That's it. Like, I don't know.
It makes me think a bit of just imposter syndrome that I remember a point where I realized I initially said like, "Ooh, I haven't experienced imposter syndrome for a while," in a kind of go me way, and then realized, "Oh, I think that actually means that I'm not challenging myself enough."
Um,
And so that what you just said made me think of that because it feels like, well, every year in your business is going to bring challenges. It's
yeah,
just that they're all different.
yeah,
If you don't think that this year was challenging in some way, did you try hard enough? Did you
right,
try to grow?
right. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe you didn't want to grow. Maybe you wanted a clean,
Yeah,
easy
look, if you
breezy
don't want to
year.
grow,
Yeah,
that's up to you.
cool.
And so maybe it's,
Yeah,
doesn't have any challenges.
yeah. I
I
don't know.
understand.
It's all well intended advice, I guess. So I know. I feel like we've been trying to hang up for like an hour.
There's so much to talk about though. I
So
think I
much.
have when's my next thing? Hold. I'm okay. Um,
Thank you for having me. Thank you for
Thank
having
you
me.
for doing this with me. I have been so excited to get to just connect with you ever since I saw the avocado toast thing, and you
Yeah.
had some posts about like being unhinged and having a lot of energy.
Oh
Um,
yes. Yeah. That I was like, I need to be. My post is going to be even more unhinged. Well, someone was copying my shit, so I haven't told anybody. But some people were copying. There was another somebody copying my content, or at least felt so similar that I was like, didn't I
Not
write that?
everyone can have no one else has my personality. That can't be authentic.
I was like, oh, I feel like I literally wrote this like 2 days ago. Didn't I just write that? And I'm like, it just felt very, and it was happening for a while. Like it was like very like I'd post something and then like a couple days later, it was mostly on the like tips, right? On like how to do business development. And so I thought I could either get like pissed. I could get pissed. I could send them a note, which I didn't feel like would really like end well or like do much because like it wasn't like verbatim. It was close enough, and they could have like then I'd have to like we'd get in this like tit for tat. I just didn't think that was going to end well. So, so basically, what I decided to myself was that I said self was that my I was going to make my content be more unhinged, and I would like laugh to myself every time I would post something ridiculous, and I'd be like, good luck copying that shit. Like that shit's crazy. Like good luck. And guess what? No one's copying me anymore, at least that I
Well
can tell.
done.
Thank you.
I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I genuinely love, I mean, I haven't seen anything of yours that I actually believe is unhinged. I just see personality,
Yeah.
and I love it
Yeah.
because I, I don't do stiff, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not interested in burning energy with not real people.
Yeah. Agree.
Yeah. And one of the things I'm really excited about with developing the Wellness Esquire is just like bringing all of our kinds of people who share these kinds of values around well-being and authenticity and happiness and taking care of ourselves and each other and just showing up as you all together so that people can just find each other, whether you're
Yeah.
looking for, in whatever way you're looking for a community, whether it's just like, hey, I'd like to have some friends,
Sure.
or you're looking for a job and you're
Mm-hmm.
wanting to find a firm that actually shares your values, or you're
Yeah.
looking for, or someone's looking for you.
Sure.
But like, we don't have a place where people can go and just be like, well, these are my values as a lawyer or as a legal professional.
Yeah.
But I
Right.
need services, but I don't know how to find someone who I can actually relate to. And
Yeah.
you know, how many people are out there who are like, well, I know I need a marketing and biz dev person, but I don't like anyone out there, and they just don't know that you exist because
Yeah.
you're kind of the unicorn.
Mm.
And but I believe, because of all of the conversations that I have with people in our space, people are looking for each other.
Yeah, for sure.
There's more of us out there than anyone realizes, because we just
Yeah.
don't have a home.
Yeah. I love it. I love that that's the purpose and the intention, and that the more people that you talk to, the more you're like, oh, there's actually a lot of us, and
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be so shitty. That was the main driver. That would be, maybe that's what I need. That's what I would say. I think for me, I kept being like, it didn't have to be that way, and it doesn't have to be that way. And that is really what keeps driving the conversation forward, where I'm finding what I hope are good people, right? Everyone has a bad day. Everyone has a bad season. Giving yourself grace for all of that, and unlearning a lot of stuff. So I'm glad there's
Yeah.
spaces and that there's an appetite for it.
Oh, there's an appetite.
Yeah.
And I think you're finding that too, because that's
Yes,
the people who are becoming your clients.
absolutely.
This
Mm-hmm.
buttoned up person's probably not going to be your client, and that's okay. That's not who you want.
No, I don't want them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I heard on a podcast, I'm now blanking on who this was, but they said something so brilliant about the way they kind of market their firm is both to attract the right people and repel the wrong people.
Mm,
And I loved that, because I think it's so easy to operate with a scarcity mindset of like, oh no, I have to mold myself into whatever that kind of a client is going to want. And such a fear around all this authenticity that we're talking about, because like, well, what if
yeah.
someone doesn't like me? And well, there are people are looking for you, but if you don't show up, people won't find you. And also, if you make it really clear who you are and what you're about, the wrong people won't want to work with you. And
Oh
that's
yeah.
perfect. You don't want
I'm
to work with
sure.
them either.
I don't want to work with them either. Yeah, no, I'm sure that's happened. Like, I'm sure there's people who come and see and they're like, no, cool. And I'm like, that's good. Right. Like,
Yeah,
that's fine. That's fine for
perfect.
me.
Yeah.
Great.
Amazing. Thanks for listening. I hope you got a ton of value from this conversation, and that you will check out the links in the description to learn more about the guest and the Wellness Esquire. And I hope you take even just 1 minute to do something for yourself today. Maybe right now. Drink more water, say no, call a friend, do something that makes you happy, have a 30-second dance party, find something to make you laugh. Also, be sure to subscribe and send the podcast to a colleague. And if we're not yet connected on LinkedIn, please fix that. I'd love to know you. See you next time.